Level 1, the recruit, it begins in the humid heat of Glencoe, Georgia. You have passed the background checks, the polygraphs, and the psychological evaluations. Now, you belong to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, FETC. You are no longer a civilian, you are a raw asset being forged into a human barrier. The training is clinical and brutal. You spend your mornings in the shoot house, a maze of plywood walls where you learn the art of the split-second decision. You are taught to distinguish between a camera and a Glock 19 in less than 0.2 seconds. But the physical training is only half the battle. The true test is the red cell, drills, simulations where instructors ambush you with simulated gunfire. Your natural human instinct is to duck, to hide, to survive. In the Secret Service, that instinct is a fatal flaw. They train it out of you. You are taught to expand the perimeter, to stand tall when everyone else is hitting the dirt. You are trained to be the only person moving toward the sound of the crack. The wise professor, voice in the back of your head reminds you of the stakes. The president is the office, and the office is the nation. You are the shield between the nation and chaos. You practice, cover, and evacuate drills until your knuckles are raw and your knees are bruised. You learn the anatomy of a crowd, how to spot the odd man out, the person whose hands stay in their pockets, the person who doesn't cheer when the motorcade passes. By the end of level 1, you have lost 10 pounds of fat and gained a terrifying sense of hyper-vigilance. You realize that from this day forward, you will never look at a crowd of people the same way again. You see threats where others see faces. Level 2 ain't the field office agent, you graduate, but you don't go to the White House. Not yet. You are sent to a field office, perhaps in New York, Chicago, or Miami. This is the investigation phase. For the next 3 to 5 years, your life is consumed by the Secret Service's original mandate protecting the integrity of the US dollar. Your days are spent in gray cubicles, surrounded by stacks of counterfeit currency and financial ledgers. You are hunting the paper, sophisticated fake bills printed by North Korean cartels or domestic crime rings. You spend weeks undercover, meeting with low-level money launderers in neon-lit motels that smell of stale grease. You learn the patience of a predator. You sit in unmarked cars for 12-hour stakeouts, drinking bitter coffee and staring at a warehouse door. The cold professionalism of the service starts to settle in. You realize that the man who can handle the boredom of a wiretap investigation will never be trusted to stand next to the leader of the free world. You execute search warrants at 500 a.m., kicking down doors and seizing hard drives. You interview nervous suspects who think they can lie to you, but you've been trained by the best profilers in the world. You see the twitch in their eye, the sweat on their lip. At level 2, you are a federal agent in every sense, but you are still an outsider to the big detail. You are paying your dues in the trenches of financial crime. You are learning that the greatest threats aren't always men with rifles. Sometimes they are the people trying to bleed the country dry from the inside. You are effective, you are anonymous, and you are waiting for the call that will bring you to the 1800 Pennsylvania Avenue. Level 3, the advanced team, your time in the field office is over. You've been summoned to the detail, but you aren't standing shoulder to shoulder with the president just yet. You are now a member of the advanced team. Your mission is to sanitize the entire environment long before the president even arrives. If the president is scheduled to give a speech in a stadium tomorrow, you are already there today. Your day is devoid of glitz or glamour. You spend it inside filthy gutters, cramped ventilation ducts, and grease-stained elevator shafts. You inspect every single inch where an explosive device could be hidden. You coordinate with local police and hospitals, scouting every turn on the motorcade route to calculate exactly how many seconds it takes to reach the nearest trauma center in an emergency. You map out 3 distinct paths for the beast: the presidential limo, the primary, the alternate, and the emergency escape route. At this level, your wise professor mindset deepens. You no longer view the world for its beauty, you view it for its vulnerabilities. You don't look at a skyscraper and admire its architecture. Instead, you calculate the line of sight from the 3rd window on the 4th floor down to the stadium stage. You meticulously vet the list of every individual who will step within a 100 400-foot radius of the president. It is 200 a.m., and you are standing on the stadium roof, surveying sniper positions. Paranoia has become your primary professional tool. You constantly ask yourself, if I were the enemy, where would I strike from? You secure everything from the stadium's power grid to the water supply. When the president arrives tomorrow and thousands of people cheer, they will have no idea that you have already scanned every inch beneath their feet and above their heads. You are building an invisible wall, one that no one notices as long as it is doing its job perfectly. Level 4, the shift level 4, is where the theory of protection meets the chaos of humanity. You are assigned to the shift, the outer layer of the security onion. You aren't standing next to the president yet, but you are the gatekeeper. You are stationed at the magnetometers, the metal detectors through which thousands of people must flow. This level is a test of psychological endurance. You stand for 12 hours straight in a black suit that feels like a furnace under the sun or a refrigerator in the wind. Your eyes are constantly scanning the line. You aren't looking at faces, you are looking at hands, pockets, and waistlines. You learn the Secret Service glaze, a way of looking through a person to see the silhouette of a concealed weapon. You are looking for the pre-attack indicators, the man wiping sweat from his forehead on a cold day, the person clutching a bag too tightly, the individual whose eyes are darting toward the exits rather than the stage. The cold professionalism becomes a shield. You deal with angry VIPs, impatient journalists, and thousands of screaming fans. To you, they are all potential vectors of threat. You coordinate with the counter-surveillance units, undercover agents dressed as civilians who are blended into the crowd. Through your earpiece, a constant stream of data flows. Blue sector, male red hat acting erratic. Monitor, you are part of a human net, filtering out the noise to find the one signal that could end a presidency. At level 4, you realize that 99.9% of your job is managing the mundane, but you are paid for the 0.1% of the time when the mundane turns into a massacre. Level 5, Zane, the PPD, you have finally made it. The inner circle, the PPD. This is the big detail. You are now part of the small group of men and women who stand inches away from the leader of the free world. You are the shadow that follows the president into the Oval Office, onto Air Force One, and into the armored depths of the beast. At level 5, your personal life is officially over. You don't have a schedule. The president has a schedule, and therefore, you have a duty. You miss birthdays, anniversaries, and funerals. You live in a world of 5-star hotels where you never see the bed, and foreign palaces where you only see the hallways. You learn the demonformation, the tactical geometry of moving a human target through a crowd. You are trained to use your body as a physical barrier. If a shot is fired, your job isn't to draw your weapon. It is to throw yourself on top of the president and push him to safety. The wise professor voice reminds you that you are now a living shield. You know the president's blood type better than your own. You know his moods, his whispers, and his secrets. You see him at his most vulnerable, exhausted, angry, or grieving. But you remain a ghost. You do not speak unless spoken to. You are a piece of furniture that breathes and carries a 9mm Siji Sewer. You are the final line of defense. The cost of this level is your humanity. You are no longer a person with feelings. You are a tactical instrument of the state. Level 16, the cat, while the PPD's Presidential Protective Detail is the shield, the counter-assault team Kate is the sword. You are no longer in a suit and tie. You are wearing black flame, resistant Nomex, heavy body armor, and a tactical helmet. You carry a short-barreled SR-16 rifle and enough ammunition to fight a small war. Your mission is simple but terrifying. If the motorcade is ambushed, your job is not to protect the president. The PPD does that. Your job is to turn toward the source of the fire and suppress it with overwhelming violence. You are the diversion. While the president's limo speeds away, you stay behind to engage the attackers. You are an elite commando hidden in plain sight, riding in the war wagon, a black SUV with a modified rear window that can drop in a split second. Wise professor, voice in your ear is now a tactical frequency. You train in high-speed evasion and fire and maneuver, drills until they are muscle memory. At level 6, you accept the reality of the X, the kill zone. You know that in a true coordinated attack, your survival is secondary to the evacuation of the asset. You are the heavy muscle that ensures the world stays stable, one magazine at a time. Level 70, the hammers, electronic countermeasures. As you move to level 7, the threats become invisible. You are part of the hammer unit. You don't look for men with guns, you look for signals in the air. You operate the electronic countermeasures, a ECM vehicle, a black van bristling with mysterious antennas that follows the motorcade. Your job is to create a bubble of silence. You jam cellular signals so a roadside bomb cannot be triggered by a phone. You monitor the skies for unauthorized drones, small, plastic assassins that can carry a grenade. You are a digital warrior. You see the world through a spectrum analyzer, watching for the spike in radio frequency that signals an impending attack. At level 7, the stress is intellectual but no less heavy. You are playing a game of cat and mouse with hackers and terrorists. If you fail, the motorcade enters a zone where a single click of a remote can end everything. You are the invisible guardian of the electromagnetic field. You live in a world of ghost signals and black frequencies, ensuring the president's voice is the only one that can be heard. Level 8. The SAIC, special agent in charge. You have spent 20 years in the sun, the rain, and the shadows. Now, you are the SAIC, special agent in charge. You no longer stand on the running board of a moving car. You sit in the Joint Operations Center, JOC. You are the architect of the entire security bubble for a presidential visit. Your life is a constant stream of threat matrix, briefings. You coordinate with the CIA, the FBI, and local SWAT teams. You are the one who makes the go, no, go decision. If the intelligence suggests a credible threat on a specific route, you are the one who tells the President of the United States, "Sir, we are changing the plan." You carry the weight of every agent's life under your command. If a CAD operator or a PPD agent falls, it is because your plan had a hole in it. The wise professor voices now a cold, calculating strategist. You don't think about the president as a person anymore. You think of him as the asset. You are playing a 4D game of chess against an invisible opponent. You balance the political need for the president to be seen by the public with the tactical need for him to be invisible to a sniper. You live in a world of contingency plans. Plan B, Plan C, and the nightmare of Plan D. Level 9. The director. You have reached the pinnacle. You are the director of the Secret Service. You are appointed by the President and answerable to the Secretary of Homeland Security. You no longer carry a weapon, you carry a congressional subpoena. At level 9, the threats aren't bullets, they are budgets, scandals, and political fallout. You sit in hearings on Capitol Hill, defending your agency's honor. You are the one who has to walk into the Oval Office and tell the President that his own personal behavior is creating a security risk. You manage 7,000 employees and a multi-billion-dollar budget. You are the face of the silent service in a world that is increasingly loud and critical. The cold professionalism has turned into a political shield. You are the ultimate gatekeeper. You know the dark secrets of the most powerful families in the world, and you will take them to your grave. You live at the intersection of power and protection, where a single mistake by a junior agent in a field office can end your career or change the course of history. Level 10. The living shield cell, the legacy. The suit is folded. The earpiece is silent. You are retired. You live in a quiet house in the suburbs, far from the sirens and the motorcades. But the Secret Service DNA never leaves you. You are level 100, the ghost. You walk into a grocery store and your eyes automatically scan the exits. You sit in a restaurant and you cannot help but face the door. You look at a tall building and you still see sniper nests. You are a man who spent 30 years ready to die for someone you barely knew. You have saved the world a dozen times, and no one will ever know your name. The wise professor gives his final lesson. The greatest success of a Secret Service agent is that nothing happened. Your legacy is the absence of tragedy. You are the silent thread that held the fabric of the country together. You watch the news, you see the new president, and you see the young agent standing in the demon. You whisper a silent prayer for him, because you know exactly what it's going to cost him.